Houston Real Estate Radio starts right now.
Welcome back. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm Shannon Register.
I'm James Brown.
And you can find more information about all the guests that we have on our show over at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. We video the segments, so any guests that you missed, you can always go back and watch them later in the show. And we like to take your calls. You can call us at 281-882-8088, and James and I'll be happy to answer your questions, any real estate questions that you have. And if when you call in, we will send you a buyer's guide. So make sure that you leave your address as well. We don't put that on the air, though.
You can also follow us on our Facebook page, Houston Real Estate Radio. We post information there and show notes there. And we're both on Twitter as well, at Shannon Register and at James Brown TX.
That's right. And this segment is sponsored by The Perfect Light. You can find them online at theperfectlight.com. All right, so some interesting things. You know, we've talked about a lot of interesting things today going on in our market, just the demand for housing, the shortage that's going on, and we still have some lending issues. The appraisals seem to be getting a little better. We've touched on a lot of different things, even some new construction. One of the things that I've noticed lately is that all of these houses that were purchased a year to 2 years ago as foreclosures and short sales, or even just as distressed properties that were purchased, were rented out for a year or two, and now they're ready to sell them. Mm-hmm. Kind of flipping them, right?
You know, I saw people that had that market strategy 5 years ago, and they were buying houses in 2005 and 6 and 7 and 8, you know, with the intent of holding on to them until the market turned back in this direction, and it has now. And you're right, you're starting to see those homes come back on the market as sales.
Yeah, and a lot of them don't need a lot of those didn't need a whole lot of work, because they really were just people who were in financial distress and needed to sell. Right. So I've seen some of them in the MLS where the price is raised $10,000-$15,000, and all they've done is go in and throw some paint on the walls. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that qualifies as a flip, because there's no rehab involved if you put paint on the walls. I mean, that's just a normal, buy and hold for a time and then sell for a profit. And that's like I said, it's a strategy that some people had already looked, in their crystal ball and saw this day coming, and were buying properties like this for 3 and 4 years back. Mm-hmm. And I have one friend of mine, investor friend of mine, who he saw this bubble that we had back in the 80s, mm-hmm. and he missed that one. And he said, I'm not going to miss the next wave. So yeah, he and as many people as he could get on board with him were buying up, 30 houses a year, for the last 3 or 4 years, with the intent of selling them all when the market peaked. And now we're in that seller's market, and I would not be surprised, mm-hmm. and I'm not at all surprised to see some of those homes pop up now. And I think some sellers who intend to sell this spring season are just holding back right now for several reasons. One, I think they think that as we get on into spring and summer, the prices are going to rise even more, so they're waiting. And also, some of them right now need to get their house in order to sell. And like Jim was talking about earlier, it's hard to get a contractor in there. They're all so busy right now. And
I like that segment, because you're absolutely right he's absolutely right that the everybody was a contractor, before, but now only the strongest and the best, mm-hmm. The quality builders, the quality contractors, those are the only ones that survived, so the ones that you can get now are the ones you want, but it's hard to get them because there's so few of them. Yeah. And they're so busy.
So if you're thinking about selling this season, get anything you want done to your house done now, mm-hmm. so you don't miss the season. Foreign investors. We've still got foreign investors in the marketplace. Yes, we do. And when we talked with some of the other agents around the country, we saw that as well. A lot of foreign investment into the United States in general, but specifically, a lot of cash buyers, foreign buyers coming to Houston. I've got one right now that's in the Middle East, and the problem we're having is the time lag. By the time I find it and he decides he wants to get it,
it's already sold, before we can get the paperwork together, it's already sold because,
if you want something right now, you've got to put your offer out there.
Yeah, it's really true. And it's, it's a great thing to be in a market like this. And I know a lot of people in this business were patiently waiting on the sidelines to get in. And a lot of sellers have been patiently waiting on the sidelines to get in. And it's definitely time. If you know of anybody who's a foreign investor, there's a lot of extra hoops they have to jump through as well. So, a lot of things that happened since 9/11 that were added to the process of a foreign buyer purchasing property. So, you definitely want to get in touch with a real estate agent before you find the property, not when you find the property.
Yeah, that's true. That's always true with any property. You want to talk to your agent beforehand, talk about the strategies you're going to use when you get ready to make that offer. There are a lot of things to consider when you make an offer. There's so many options. It's not all about price.
That's true.
There's more than price. I mean, it all affects the bottom line price, but on the contract, there are so many other ways to negotiate than just price.
That's right.
One of the things we talked about earlier, I talked about with Jim, was foundation issues. They have a company that can fix foundation issues. And there have been a lot of houses in the Houston area, just because of our climate and the type of soil that we have, a lot of houses need foundation work.
Yeah.
What do you recommend to a buyer? Do you, because, the words, foundation problems really scare off buyers. Do you just stray away from those houses, or do you tell them, it's got a lifetime warranty, it's been fixed? What do you think?
If to answer your question, well, let me talk about when I have a seller, first of all, and they're selling a house and they've got a lifetime warranty. We put that right out front, and we let them know, whether it's got issues right now or not. That's a reassuring piece of paper along with the contract and the other disclosures, that if it does have any issues in the future, it's 100% guaranteed, warranted. As far as buyers are concerned, it's foundation work is very cheap, relatively speaking, to what it used to be years ago. I mean, drilling those and putting those piers in now is not that expensive. Yes, it's expensive, and yes, it's something you don't want to take on with a new house in a lot of cases. But it's not that it's inexpensive compared to what it used to be. And if you can factor in that into the price that you offer for the house, I don't discourage people to buy unless I've seen houses that were completely broken in half and they had major foundation failures, and of course nobody wants that kind of issue, because in most cases that's not going to be,
that's almost a tear down.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be forever propping that house up, and I've unfortunately had people that I've known over the years that have had that kind of situation where every year and a half they're having to have the guy come back out and do some more work on the foundation, and that's just no fun to for a house to have that kind of problem.
Fortunately, all of the buyers that I've had that have bought houses with foundation issues, and the sellers who sold with foundation issues, when the inspectors came out and looked at them, they all were performing well. None of them have had any problems. So to me, the track record of foundation improvements seems to, just from my perspective, just my experience in selling real estate, it seems like it's once you have it done and you have that lifetime warranty, very rarely do you have to use the warranty. I think it performs, a long time doing what it's supposed to do. So I think it's less of a concern now for buyers as it used to be.
Well, and that's true, and that's why the technology has gotten a lot better and a lot cheaper, and that's why these companies can guarantee it, because they wouldn't guarantee it if they thought they'd be out there every 18 months having to prop it up.
That's true.
They're not going to make any money doing that. And it's what else is interesting? I was out in Sienna Plantation and watching some of the new builders put the foundation down. They do a lot more excavation, a lot more soil compaction now before they actually pour that slab. And so we've learned, and builders have learned over the years how to deal with our soil, and create homes with less likelihood to have foundation problems.
Yeah.
But foundation problems in Houston are just not unusual, and it's just something that as a buyer you have to factor that into the price if you suspect there's foundation issues. And of course, you always want to get an inspection.
Absolutely. And even on a new house, when you're building a new house, you can get an inspection from the time that you start in the very beginning, before the foundation's even poured. They can check out the foundation and make sure it's all done correctly. So you definitely want to do that even on new construction homes. Now, one of the things that I want to close with is something that I've found with some buyers, and Mike and I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. You can have excellent credit and think that you have plenty of income and be able to buy a house, and when it comes down to it, you can't get qualified. I have seen that, and people don't realize that, but it's not all about the credit. It's not all about the income. It's about where the income comes from.
Sources of income, that's right.
Yes, and the underwriting standards have just gotten so strict that you definitely want to work closely with your lender to make sure that you really have a good pre-approval letter.
And that's, a lot of people have side jobs, they freelance, they're independent contractors, and those are the people that have the hardest time with that sources of income. And then there's a lot of people that are bringing in gifts from other relatives, or they have cash in places other than a bank account that it's visible to the federal government and whoever else needs oversight. And so when you have that kind of issue, if you keep your money under your mattress, there's going to be issues with qualifying with those funds. So you just want to talk to your lender as early along as you can, so that they can tell you, okay, if this is what you're planning to do, then you need to put the funds here for this period of time. If you're an independent contractor, we need to see this period of work and a 1099 form for this length of time.
Absolutely. Well, you are listening to Houston Real Estate Radio, and you can listen every week to get more information about the housing market, about improvements you can make to your house, about selling, about buying, anything that has to do with real estate. We answer your questions. You can call us and leave those questions at 281-882-8088. We'll be back again next week, 1 o'clock, with another edition of Houston Real Estate Radio. Thanks for joining us.
Have a good weekend.